Coming up on today's show, Tesla publishes its first quarter financials and yet again shows it's had an overwhelmingly positive start to the year. Volkswagen's April Fool's joke gets it in trouble with the SEC, and Citroen's diminutive Ami quadricycle is coming to the US. But there's a catch. These stories and more coming next. Welcome back to TEN, Transport Evolved News. We put all the news in one place for the week, so you don't have to go looking for it. Following feedback from our decision last week to drop any news items from our show that we'd already covered during the week in the format of our new shorts, we've now made our weekly shorts available every week as a mega cut. Keep your eyes peeled for this week's mega cut, which will come out tomorrow. This show is sponsored by the Electric Auto Association. Stick around until the end of this show to find out how joining the EAA can help you finance your own clean energy or transportation purchase. We're starting today with Tesla's first quarter financials for the year, which were released after the close of the US stock market on Monday. In addition to breaking new records for vehicle production and delivery, Tesla's financials show a record-breaking quarter for total profits, with just over $1 billion or 93 cents per share profit using the non-GAAP method of accounting, and $438 million, 39 cents per share profit using the GAAP method. Unlike previous quarterlies, there wasn't really any huge unexpected news announced this time, but Elon Musk did state that Tesla's new 4680 cell production line was still between 12 and 18 months away from volume cell production. I suspect it was this that caused Tesla's share price to drop the next day, in a buy on the rumour, sell on the news kind of way. It started as a court-mandated penance for Volkswagen's participation in Dieselgate, but now Electrify America is probably one of the US's most used non-Tesla charging networks and has just celebrated turning on its 600th site, just under 3 years after its first site went online. By the end of this year, it pledges to have 800 sites in operation, with 3,500 rapid charging stations either open or in development. With its network now supporting plug and charge and reliability now orders of magnitude better than it was in its early days, it's really become the go-to network for long-distance trips. But I do wish EA would solve the one stall per location policy for Todaymo cars. Ford has continued its push towards producing more electric vehicles this week by announcing it's in the process of establishing a new global battery centre of excellence where all of its battery research and development will be based. Called the Ford Ion Park and located in southeast Michigan, the facility will become home to a $185 million collaborative learning lab. It will be used to develop and manufacture lithium-ion and solid-state battery cells and modules. It will test new manufacturing processes for new cell designs and develop closed-loop battery recycling programs to ensure Ford can use as much of its electric and hybrid electric car battery packs as possible. Like other car companies before it, this also hints that Ford is readying itself to get into battery manufacturing rather than just relying on third-party cell providers. You may have noticed at the tail end of March that Volkswagen announced it would be rebranding itself to Volkswagen in honour of its transition away from fossil fuels to electric vehicles. At the time, given the timing, we all assumed it was an April Fool's joke, so when Volkswagen confirmed it wasn't changing its name a few days later, we weren't surprised. But just as Tesla CEO Elon Musk got into trouble in the past with the US SEC for tweeting things about Tesla that had a knock-on effect on the company's share price, Volkswagen is now also in trouble with the SEC. According to the government agency, it's now investigating Volkswagen for its non-serious announcement. It's great to have a sense of humour, but honestly, Volkswagen's executive team really should have known better. Chevrolet revealed its proposed solution to the ongoing battery problem with its 2017 through select 2019 Chevrolet Bolt EVs. Those who've been following the story will know that last year a series of fires involving Chevrolet Bolt EVs caused GM to issue a recall that temporarily restricted maximum state of charge in all affected vehicles. Unlike Hyundai, which had a similar issue that resulted in ultimately confirming it would replace all affected battery packs, GM GM maintained its solution wouldn't involve complete battery pack replacement. Now, however, its solution may. It wants to test battery packs of all Bolt EVs using new software developed for the issue and replace some modules in customers' cars as required under warranty. We made a full video on it during this week. You can see it here, so check it out if you haven't. Tesla has, quite famously, never had an advertising budget, although it does produce YouTube videos from time to time that I'd argue are essentially info adverts. For the last year or so, it's had no PR department either, gutting its media team and making it difficult for people in the press to talk to or even get B-roll from Tesla. Musk took to Twitter this week to state that he felt it was more helpful to follow individual journalists rather than publications, and when several people asked him to rehire a PR team, he said, quote, "Other companies spend money on advertising and manipulating public opinion. Tesla focuses on the product. I trust the people." End quote. It's all well and good, but if you can't get a straight answer from a company, it really makes it difficult for us to cover it, and you're left with the same B-roll you've had for years and years. Following Honda's announcement that it would switch to only selling electric-powered vehicles in North America from 2040 onwards, the news broke this week that General Motors would be working alongside Honda to develop 2 all-electric models. Both based on General Motors' Ultium battery technology, the 2 vehicles, one for Honda and one for Acura, will both be SUVs and are likely going to be built alongside similar GM-badged vehicles. But if you think this partnership is new, then you might be surprised to learn it isn't. General Motors and Honda have collaborated on vehicle technology for a number of years and have worked together on both battery and hydrogen fuel cell vehicles in the past. And of course, in producing these vehicles for Honda and Acura, GM's economies of scale should pay it extra dividends. New figures from the first quarter of the year has shown an impressive growth in Europe's plug-in vehicle market. In March alone, electric and plug-in hybrid vehicle registrations grew by a massive 169% year over year, recording the second highest monthly registration for the segment ever. The biggest growth was in plug-in hybrid sales, up 264% year on year, while battery electric vehicles grew by 100% year on year. In March, plug-in vehicles held 16% of the market share, so while this year we're looking at a 15% total market share, it's still really impressive. The lead away from fossil fuels is led by Tesla, whose Model 3 has now sold just over 24,000 cars in Europe this year alone. Total plug-in sales for this year in Europe now amount to 457,000 cars. Nice. For some time now, those of us in the electric car world have wondered how General Motors was planning to approach the subject of electric car charging. To date, the company has chosen quite a hands-off approach, which, frankly, hasn't worked all that well. But that might be changing with the announcement of Ultium Charge 360 this week. It's designed as a charging service that allows GM customers to seamlessly charge their vehicles on road trips by making all payment information in-house. Rather than ask customers to have individual memberships for each charging provider they visit, GM hopes its customers will use the app for one-stop, seamless transactions with EVgo, Blink, Greenlots, Flow, Chargepoint and SEMA Connect all signed on. The one missing? Electrify America, which, to be frank, as I've already said, is now the biggest charging network for non-Teslas in the US. Let's hope it joins forces with the GM Ultium Charge 360 soon. And now, it's time for short shorts. Volkswagen has announced a sportier variant of its ID.4 electric SUV, the ID.4 GTX. With higher power figures and better handling, it should be plenty of fun, but it isn't in the same performance class as the Model Y Performance or the Mark E GT Performance. Ital Design and Williams Advanced Engineering have partnered to offer premium and high-performance EV platforms for automakers, built around their joint EVX composite modular chassis. A new study, much larger in scope than the one we previously reported, finds that plug-in hybrid vehicles consume far more fuel and emit far more CO2 in real-world driving than laboratory testing would suggest. Infrequent charging is a major cause for this phenomenon. Lebanese firm EV Electra has produced the first car designed and built in the country. The electric sports car is expected to sell for the equivalent of $30,000, and the company is targeting an initial production of 10,000 units per year. EV charging provider Chargepoint has added Android Auto functionality to its app, with the ability to find charging stations and manage the charging process right from your vehicle's infotainment system. That's if it supports Android Auto. For many people of a certain age, the Wild One off-roader RC car brings back fond memories. Now, thanks to an 1/8 scale version being developed by the Little Car Company, you'll actually be able to climb into a Wild One and drive it yourself. For a price, of course. The US government has ordered a recall of about 600 Brompton folding e-bikes due to an uncommanded acceleration issue. The problem can be fixed by software updates at your local Brompton dealer. Husqvarna has unveiled the E-pilen, an electric concept motorcycle in the same vein as its popular Smart Pillion and Vit-Pillion petrol motorcycles. The company says it's one of several zero-emission bikes in development. At its Way to Zero convention this week, Volkswagen laid out details of its plans to be carbon neutral by 2040, including producing zero-emission vehicles, expanding battery recycling, and decarbonising its production and supply chain processes. A group representing auto suppliers is lobbying the US Congress to slow the move to zero-emission vehicles prompted by the Biden administration, out of concerns that it would lead to job losses among its members. We've heard that one before. With the first deliveries planned for this fall, people are beginning to see Hummer EVs out in the real world and on real roads, likely as the model is undergoing final testing. Eagle-eyed observers photographed a Mercedes-Benz EQS on the Nurburgring in Germany, with many speculating it looked like it was a prototype of a rumoured AMG-badged performance variant. Sadly, we don't have permission to use these shots in this video. Spanish startup Ox Motorcycles says its Ox1 electric motorcycle is out of development and is nearing production readiness. Pricing is expected to be approximately $6,200. The Cyberlander camper, which was designed to fit in the Tesla Cybertruck bed, has pre-order commitments totaling $50 million. It's a lot of money for a product only seen in renders for a vehicle that doesn't even have a release date yet. General Motors is going to be building a brand new electric vehicle production facility in Mexico, with a $1 billion investment partially going towards that project. The company's first EV production in Mexico is expected to begin in 2023. With Tesla China massively expanding the supercharger network, it's now possible to drive a Tesla from Chengdu, the capital of Sichuan province, all the way to Mount Everest Base Camp, over 1,500 miles away. Insert comment about tourists at Mount Everest. A Volkswagen Group has begun construction on the third MEB platform production facility in China. The facility is expected to begin vehicles in 2023. The US Environmental Protection Agency says Tesla may be out of compliance with air pollution regulations at its Fremont production facility paint shop. Tesla, meanwhile, is refuting those allegations. In just a few days' time, BMW will begin producing battery modules at its Leipzig plant, less than a year after the company decided to expand its battery and e-drive production. Our own local Portland International Raceway, here in Portland, Oregon, has chosen to ban electric vehicles from participating in track nights. The reasons are unclear. A new survey in the UK finds that while the majority of people think electric cars are too expensive, most are also unfamiliar with government grant programs designed to offset the cost of buying EVs and installing home charging, so more education is required. In the face of sluggish sales figures for its pedal electric cargo e-bike four-wheeler, as well as competition in the pedelec market, BioHybrid has filed for insolvency after just a few years of existence. Benelli has released its first electric scooter. Initially rolling out in the Indonesian market, the Dong has an interesting design, city-oriented range, and for some reason a fake exhaust sound. I suspect the name will have to change though if they bring it to the US, because who wants to ride on a Dong? And those are your short shorts. There will be more next week. Thanks to a little something called quadricycles, Europe has the best little electric vehicles. They're smaller and less powerful than a full-size electric car, and they're vehicles like the Renault Twizy and Citroen Ami that you can see zipping around surface streets in many European cities. And while they can't be driven on some roads, they offer cheap, cheerful and fun zero-emission motoring. In the United States, such vehicles are a lot tougher to own and operate thanks to more restrictive laws surrounding neighbourhood electric vehicles, which are frankly a whole lot more stringent than the quadricycle laws in terms of what you can and can't drive on the road. But if you're a US-based fan of these tiny vehicles, you'll be pleased to know that Citroen's Ami is coming to Washington, D.C., courtesy of the free-to-move subscription service operated by Stellantis. We don't have any firm details, but I can say that a sneak peek photo has been posted by the company showing the Citroen Ami in front of the stars and stripes. Watch this space. And finally, for most of us, buying a new car involves finding a car that fits our needs and our budget, putting it through a little test drive, agreeing on a price, paying for it, and then taking our car home. But for some people, buying just any old car isn't enough. They need to spend serious money on either a custom car or a one-off or a limited edition, just to prove how much money, and often how little taste, they really have. Which is where Caviar comes in. For those who don't know, Caviar takes everyday things and gold plates them, and it's just announced a limited run of 24-karat gold Tesla Model S Plaids. Yes, it takes Tesla's most expensive Model S and makes it even more expensive with 24-karat gold wheels, gold trim, and a BMW-esque fake grille. Also gold. I wish I had something positive to say, but I just can't. And on that note, we're done for the day. But before I go, I would like to thank the Electric Auto Association for sponsoring today's roundup. They've been advocating for electric vehicles since 1967, and they firmly believe that our future depends on us making the switch to clean, green electric cars today. The EAA can help you find someone near to you that can help you make your own switch to electric. It can help you become an EV educator, and it can point you in the direction of monthly meetups for like-minded EV fans. And if you become a member, you'll also get access to a new clean energy and EV loan program set up between the EAA and the Colorado Clean Energy Credit Union. You can find out more by heading to electricauto.org. We would all love it if you'd comment and subscribe to this channel, as well as consider supporting us using one of the links below. There's also a link below to our Discord chat room, which is completely free to join, so give it a go if you'd like, and don't forget to check out our Redbubble TE merch store. While I'm at it, if you are a Patreon supplier, keep your eyes open for a Patreon-only update, but until then, enjoy the rest of your weekend, stay safe, and keep evolving.